The Brooklyn Nets have been eliminated from playoff contention. What's next? Following all the controversies from James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, the Brooklyn Nets decided to finally move on from that big three, trading both Kyrie and Kevin Durant last season, and it hasn't worked out. They lost both trades, understandably so. Their first round picks haven't turned out to be anything of value, and now you're sitting with Mikal Bridges, who has been good. He was initially last year after being traded, but even then, he hasn't really showed off much this season. So, what are we looking at for next year? I mean, we have Cam Thomas, who has led us in scoring pretty much throughout the entire season ever since becoming a starter. Him being put into that starting lineup has been nothing but good for the Brooklyn Nets. We have the players that we know are going to be on this team no matter what. That's Dennis Schroeder, Cam Thomas, and Nick Claxton, Mikal Bridges. Those were players who, once they got them this year, they were pretty much going to keep them throughout the year, right? Those players are loyal. They're not going to go anywhere. You don't have to worry about them. And then you have these other players that you should really focus on, that you should prioritize more, in my opinion. Like Ben Simmons, who I've showed my love for Ben Simmons throughout the past year now, how much I think that he has to offer. When he was playing, he was averaging nearly a double-double with 10 rebounds a game and 8 points a game or something close to that. Ben Simmons is talented. He's communicative. He's one of those players that just knows what to do. He has an insanely high basketball IQ. And as a floor general, as a defensive general, he can play a role similar to Jalen Green, who has received a lot of comparisons to Ben Simmons throughout his entire career. Even he could play that kind of role on the Brooklyn Nets, because while Nick Claxton was out, they were a very small team. The Brooklyn Nets were, with Day'Ron Sharpe starting at center. He's not really a big center, right? He's only 6'9", and yeah, he's muscular, but he doesn't look big on the court. And that's why we would also have Ben Simmons play center when he would play for the Brooklyn Nets. And I actually like that idea. While Ben Simmons wasn't a good post defender at all, he looked pretty much intimidated. I still think he was very valuable. I mean, if you can look at his defensive plus minus, is very good. His defensive rating is good. The team is better when Ben Simmons plays, but they're not going to have that. They're not going to play Ben Simmons, and it's very unfortunate that he had to go out with due to his back injuries or something like that. And he had to miss the rest of the season from a couple months ago, but that's a lot of value lost right there, and especially because he's your highest paid player. After this season, the Brooklyn Nets aren't going to be having to pay Ben Simmons $37 million. They're going to have a lot of salary, a lot of room for players freed up. And with that, you're thinking, can we get another star player? Are we going to trade for someone? The recent discussions have been Jalen Green coming to the Brooklyn Nets. Comment if you think that's a great idea, because I'm going to tell you why it's not. You have Cam Thomas. He's your scorer. He's the guy that you didn't even play. You didn't even start for years, and now he's finally starting, and he's breaking out. He's scoring. That he's doing things that we know he could do. We knew he could score for years now. Ever since he was drafted out of LSU, we've known he's had that ability to score. He's pretty good in the paint, even in the mid-range. He looks bigger. Like I'm saying, when I watch Cam Thomas play, he doesn't look 6'3". Yeah, he's only 210, but he looks strong. He looks big, if you know what I mean. Like, he can force his way into the paint. He has these cool spin moves. He has these turnaround shots that he goes to. And yeah, it does get pretty repetitive because he does them over and over again, but they just work. And Cam Thomas is the only player on this roster who can light it up. You need to have these good guards, because Nick Claxton is not going to go on a streak. Mikal Bridges, as good as he is, both defensively and offensively, he's not going to get your team on runs that you will need to get on when you're down by 20 points, or when you're in the middle of the game trying to get some separation between the team, that you're playing, that between your opponents. You're not going to get those from these other guys. Cam Thomas is someone who can elevate your team in that way, and that they can carry your team through these scoring runs. If the Brooklyn Nets do decide, however, to trade for Jalen Green, I think there's going to be some conflict there in the backcourt. because you're not going to start Jalen Green and Cam Thomas. That's just unreasonable. Unless, of course, you start Ben Simmons, who can guard bigs and pass the ball real well. But even then, they're not going to start Ben Simmons. So we can't have Jalen Green and Cam Thomas on the same team because you're going to have to bench one of those players, and that's not going to be utilizing either player to their potential, which they are good players and they should be starters on whatever teams they're on. Jalen Green is a starting quality shooting guard. He started all year for the Rockets, and Cam Thomas is a starting quality shooting guard as well. He's someone that the Brooklyn Nets had to keep in their future. And if we're talking about Mikal Bridges trading him for Jalen Green, I think that's unreasonable. We need to stop with this. Oh, these players are good. Get them out of these poor situations. It's like in NFL how they have the quarterbacks. It's like the no weapons debate. How they excuse Justin Fields' play because he doesn't have receivers, and it's the same with Zach Wilson. And there's going to be good players on bad teams. It's the NBA. All of these players are talented. We're always going to have these players who are questionably top 50 players in the league that are the best player on the team, and their team still sucks, which we've seen with Mikal Bridges. And even recently, people have been saying that Mikal Bridges isn't as good as he used to be. But I mean, what do you expect? He's not the 30-point per game scorer that he flashed abilities of being last season. That's not what he is. He's a two-way player, but he's not a number one option. So that doesn't mean he should go be a number two for the 76ers, even though I think that would be pretty cool since that is his hometown. That would be awesome. But he's not going to, he doesn't belong on any other team. The Brooklyn Nets is his team. While Mikal Bridges isn't a top 30 NBA player, he's at least close, and he plays every game. He plays he hustles on defense. And if only Ben Simmons was healthy, he could do that as well, I'm sure, because Ben Simmons is the GOAT. He's one of the best players in NBA history. But we're not going to get that out of anyone else, especially Jalen Green. We need to stop with this talk saying that Jalen Green is going to elevate the Nets and that he's a perfect fit, because he's not a perfect fit. No, none of these free agents really are a perfect fit for the Brooklyn Nets unless they assemble another super team. But I think their credibility has been demolished. The Brooklyn Nets aren't going to have that free agency lure that they did when they did get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They're not going to be able to just magically become a good team after being a poverty franchise for years. So they need to value Mikal Bridges and they need to value Kim Thomas. That's the bottom line. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.